Mutatus. Episode 4. Power. The news feed went live about a guy who decimated a city and just floated in the air, letting everyone who watched the feed realize that these people are for real. Then 2 big city-destroying attacks happened later. Los Angeles was wiped off the map. There's only a crater left of the city. Then Portland, Maine was burned to the ground. Seriously, the guy who leveled the place somehow produced fire from his hands, and then proceeded to create a tornado out of fire. And then after the deeds were done, when the 2 cities were gone, the guys just stayed there for a while, floating above what they destroyed. Then after an hour of that, they just disappeared. No trace of them remained. Jeremy and I stood there for a while, staring at the screen, watching the anchorman try to keep his cool and failing at it. So, can I ask you something? What? Have you used your powers yet? I think Jeremy wasn't really comfortable talking about this subject, but was still glad to talk about something other than what we just saw. I have, actually, and I think I can teach you how to use it. I've been able to make it so that people just don't pay attention to me, like I'm invisible to them or something. You could do that? How? Well, and this is going to sound kind of stupid, but I focus really hard on the phrase, "You can't see me," and, well, that's it. Really? Just that? No intense training montage where I stand on my hands and lift a couple of rocks? Sorry, man. I'm not 2'5" and green skin. That's what I know. Maybe it will work for you. Let's hope so, 'cause I gotta go. Go? Wait, you're not thinking of going home, are you? I am. And while this may be the dumbest thing I have ever done, much dumber than working with Vindictivus, but I have to say that this is a really stupid idea. Yeah, I know. And before you say any more, there are some things that I need to make sure are safe. I'm sorry, Jeremy, but I gotta go. Jeremy was about to shout something, but then decided against it. Fine. But if you run into any violent eyes, just run and don't look back, okay? Okay. As I walked out of Jeremy's house, I noticed that there was no one on the sidewalk, in the street, anywhere. The entire neighborhood was deserted. At least, that's what it felt like. I don't know why. Maybe it was because my gift was awoken or something, but I could feel something. Someone was looking at me, and in the sort of, "Man, I really need to blow off some steam. Here's a guy I could beat to a pulp" way. I then started to do what Jeremy told me, and focused on repeating in my head, "You can't see me. You can't see me. You can't see me. You can't..." Hey, I think it's working. Oh shit, wait, you still can't see me. I repeated that in my head as I walked home, and that feeling of someone wanting to shake me disappeared completely. I don't know why it works, it just does. And good thing, too, because I really wasn't feeling like bleeding on the sidewalk anytime soon. I got to my apartment, still mentally going, "You can't see me," and opened the door. It didn't look like anyone decided to force themselves inside and wait for me. Maybe they were too scared to do so. I went to my bedroom and looked around. Everything was where it was when I left. I went and opened my drawer. I pulled out the box containing what I wanted to know was safe. Inside, I found what were left of my parents, my mom's locket and dad's pocket watch. They died when I was a teen. A couple of violent eyes decided that their time had come, and you can imagine what comes next. I was at home playing video games and wondering where they were, and I went to bed that night alone and scared. Trust me, I didn't turn into some vigilante who preys upon those who would hunt the weak or some shit. The violets were just too strong for me to do that. And now that I have these powers, I still don't want to do any of that shit. My parents are dead. Killing some guy isn't going to bring them back. And the violets were too ingrained in law enforcement and politics that some kid who isn't a violent isn't going to sway their hearts. But now the violets got a problem. The guys who they did oppress and bully and attack now have the power to fight back. And most of them are, to devastating effect. I don't really want to go and just kill the violets. But on the other hand, I don't want to help them either. My parents are dead because of them. And although it may sound sick to some people, I really don't care what happens to them. And now that I have this gift, it still sounds weird saying that, I can at least defend myself if they do come after me. Speaking of which, I went to my fridge and pulled out 2 cans of pop. One can I put on my kitchen table, The other I opened and started drinking from. After a few seconds of chugging, I put the empty can down and focused on the remaining one. I kind of felt foolish for doing it, but I held my hand out and, well, willed the can to come to me. If I had the ability to lift skyscrapers with my mind, I might as well figure out how to use it. I stood for a good 10 minutes before I actually got something. As I was about to give up, I felt a small buzz in the back of my head, and then the can started to move. Just a small little rocking motion at first, but then it started to lift off of the table, until it was level with my still outstretched hand. When it got to that height, it stayed there for a little while, until it slowly started to move closer to me. At first, I was excited by what was happening. Then I became apprehensive when the can started to shake more violently. When the can was about halfway from me and the table, the middle of the can just collapsed, like a hand applied too much pressure on it, and the top and bottom of it started spraying its now pressurized contents. Shocked by what happened, I guess I mentally let go, because the can fell to the floor and started spinning around. I sighed and resigned myself to cleaning up the mess, glad that it didn't explode, and even more glad that I didn't suffer any bad side effects, like passing out, or bleeding from any of my orifices. That would have sucked. After the mess was cleaned up, I took stock of the contents of my fridge and made a mental note to get more pop. Then I made a mental note to practice with empty cans instead of full ones. It was about that time that I decided to take a nap. I locked my door, closed my blinds, and hoped that no one would disturb me anytime soon. As I laid down on my bed, I began to fall asleep. I then woke up to the sound of someone pounding on my door.